Election Day stands on the horizon. Are our systems ready? Or does 2020 keep its reputation for chaos intact? And the Detroit News gives its presidential endorsement to no one. Measuring the challenges for the press in the most volatile election of our time. Today is Sunday, November 1st, 2020, and this is Flashpoint.
Hi there, welcome to Flashpoint. Welcome to November and what will no doubt be a history-making week in America. Yes, every presidential election makes history, but this one does feel catalytic in a different kind of way. The campaign season has had a rare intensity to it that I know a lot of voters actually won't miss when it subsides. And the question this morning is, when will that be? What do you expect Tuesday to be like? How long will it be before a winner is decided? And what kind of reaction will that winner inspire among both his supporters and detractors? We are sailing into the unknown. So much of the vote has already been cast. Good luck with exit polling. And between voter suppression efforts, phony stories on social media, and those determined to challenge some voters at the polls, it is a real challenge to picture what Tuesday and Wednesday and maybe even Thursday will look like. This morning, we're going to get the latest from Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson on the readiness of our systems and the people charged with running them. We're also going to talk about the challenges ahead this week for the press. It's already been an extraordinary election to cover. The Detroit News decided to take a pass on both candidates when it came time to endorse. We'll talk about that and fair coverage of these days to come today on Flashpoint. All right, just about a day to go until Election Day. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson has pretty much been a co-host of this program for the last couple of months. We were just joking about that. And let's check in with her again, as we have so many times here, as we've gotten close to really what is an extraordinary challenge for our election system. Secretary Benson, good to talk to you again. I know you've got a ton on your table at the moment, but let me just start with I know a lot of people are asking you to peer into a crystal ball, and I know it's an imperfect science, but try to describe for me what you think this week, or even starting with Election Day, will look like and how it will progress.
I actually think the week's going to go much better and smoother than anyone could have predicted 6 months ago. With record-breaking voter turnout, record numbers of people voting early, the coronavirus pandemic and everything else, we're ready. We're prepared. We have recruited poll workers. We've prepared our township and city clerks. Everyone stepped up with an eye towards making sure every vote counts this year. Voters are more in tuned and focused than ever before in making sure their vote counts. So I'm hopeful that the week will go smoothly. We certainly have lots of contingency plans in place to solve problems as they emerge and to catch them as soon as they emerge. But that said, I know also our clerks have taken to heart the importance of accurate results, but efficient tabulation as well. So I'm optimistic that we'll get some results in this week, hopefully even sooner than Friday.
But the possibility is out there that it could be 3 to 4 days then, to your way of thinking, before we know who wins the state of Michigan in the presidential race?
Well, it has to be. I mean, we've got 3.2 million citizens voting early, and it takes time. Those ballots cannot begin to be tabulated, and in many places even taken out of their envelopes, until Election Day morning. And so it's going to take time to work through those millions of ballots. Look, in August, it took 40 hours for every jurisdiction to count 1.6 million ballots. So if we've got double that, 80 hours is a fair estimate, but we've increased machines, we've recruited more election workers, so we've worked to increase our capacity as well. And I know our clerks are really dedicated to hopefully making sure that things go smoothly and that the results are available as soon as possible, while also prioritizing accuracy and security.
You've also been ordered to count the ballots that come in after Election Day if they were postmarked before tomorrow. Do you have any way of even guesstimating what sort of load that might be, how many votes you might be waiting for to come in late?
Well, we'll see how all of that transpires. I think we're telling and the bottom line is we want every voter to have their ballot in by 8 p.m. on Election Day. That's how you can confirm it will be counted. And we've really encouraged people to return their absentee ballots. not through the mail, but at their local drop box or to their city or township clerk's office to make sure it gets in on time. Ballots must be received by 8 p.m. on November 3rd to count. And recognizing that, it's also been great to see so many people listening, returning ballots. We've got a high percentage of ballots already in and already returned. So I'm confident that that isn't going to, in any way at this point, it looks like, slow down our tabulation process.
Just so that you can help us who do try to read the tea leaves then on election night, usually the custom is that the first votes that come in are the ones that are being counted from the actual polling place, and the absentee ballots are the ones that are sort of added into the totals later on as the evening progresses. Do we expect that to be the same this year, or will it even be more lopsided than usual in that respect?
Well, that's what we're on track, and that's what we've estimated. But look, if absentee ballots that, again, begin being counted on Tuesday morning, if a jurisdiction gets done and is just really highly efficient, accurate, and secure and is done on Tuesday night, then we're going to report those absentee votes out as well. So we've got, every indication that a lot of that might happen on Tuesday. We want to give our clerks and our absentee counting boards, however, all the room and space they need to do their jobs well. So I don't want to rush anything, but we are, mindful of the importance of having all votes tabulated as efficiently as possible. And I'll continue to communicate to the public that, look, whether a vote was voted in person at a precinct or early absentee, it counts the same. And it's not until every vote is counted that we will know the winners and losers in the full tabulation and unofficial results.
Let me get your concern level for the city of Detroit's vote, which seems chronically troubled over the years. After the primary, we had members of the Board of Canvassers wanting the state to come in and take over the city's vote because we had about 70% of the vote that really wasn't recountable. The measures that you've taken, the measures that you've overseen to try and have Detroit prepared, how do those look to you? By the way, I should mention we have tried time and time again to get Janice Winfrey, the city clerk, to come on Flashpoint. We've been unsuccessful at that venture so far. Where's your level of trust and confidence in Detroit right now?
Well, she is hard at work making sure that we are ready in Detroit. And I'm grateful that Chris Thomas, our longtime state elections director, has been embedded in the city of Detroit for the past several months, working through issues, methodically working to identify every issue. We've had folks from the county support as well. So it's truly been a partnership on every level. And I'm confident that we are in the best position possible for success, both as a reflection of the significant number of voters from Detroit who voted early through the through the 21 satellite clerk's offices that we set up throughout the state or throughout the city, the drop boxes as well throughout the city that were secure and accessible for citizens to return their ballots. And by the way, if anyone still has a ballot and hasn't returned it, you can do that up until 8 p.m. at the local drop box or at the office. But that said, the absentee counting board is something a lot of people will have eyes on as well.
Right.
We know that.
Right.
We have recruited new staff. We have created shifts for workers so they're not working 20 plus hours, getting very tired, which leads to the human error that can bring in the type of problems that occurred in the past.
Sure.
And we've increased security protocols as well. So again, we've done everything possible to be in the best position for success. And we'll have lots of eyes on Detroit on Election Day and in the days that follow to support and provide problem solving as we move along.
Two other things I wanted to get to. I have to ask you about the open carry issue. You wanted to move to block CPL holders from being able to bring weapons to the polls. I think a lot of people thought you were kicking a dog that was sound asleep, that this really wasn't going to be an issue until you made it one.
Well, interestingly, it wasn't. I mean, there were a heightened number of threats, and we know, of course, about the threats to the governor and other lawmakers. So we are in a very heightened state of anxiety and tension right now in our state, and in recognizing that as the state chief election officer, I have a duty to protect every voter and their right to cast their vote free from intimidation or harassment. And so notably, the Court of Appeals recognized that anyone who intimidates a voter in Michigan by brandishing a firearm is committing a felony under existing law, and that law is enforceable by our office as well as local law enforcement. So I'm going to continue to make sure our voters are safe and prioritize their safety and security at the polls on Election Day. And we've instructed our poll workers, our local clerks, as well as state and local law enforcement to join us in that effort, and I'm confident they will.
Are you expecting any sort of contentious moments among voters, people who show up and want to challenge somebody's vote, perhaps? What are you expecting on that front?
Well, we want to be transparent and accessible. We recognize this is democracy. We want poll watchers to be able to observe the process and challengers to be able to play their role in making sure everything is going smoothly. But if people do become disruptive, particularly in a way that amounts to threatening or harassing voters, we will step in and protect our voters and protect the sanctity of that polling place.
Lastly, I wanted to I know you're not public health is not really your domain, but it is one with which you have to be very concerned here, both for poll workers and for voters, and that's that we're trying to conduct this in the middle of a pandemic. Tell me a little bit about your level of concern about the polling places kind of becoming spreader locations.
We're very mindful of that, and I think that's one of the reasons why it was so important that we had 2/3 of our expected voter turnout occur prior to Election Day to minimize the potential for crowding. We've provided our poll workers with PPE, masks, gloves, hand sanitizer. Voting booths will be socially distanced. We're asking voters to wear masks as well if you choose to vote in person on Election Day. And if you're in any way uncomfortable with what could happen on Election Day in terms of health, vote early at your local clerk's office.
Yeah. Jocelyn Benson, you've got a very busy week ahead. I really appreciate you finding a way to squeeze us in, and we will talk to you again this week, no doubt. Thanks so much for the time.
Happy to do it, Devin. Hope to see you soon.
You bet. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Now, to that issue of coronavirus, I also had a chance a couple of days ago to talk with Governor Whitmer about her worries about Election Day helping spread the virus at a time when we've seen cases jumping so dramatically in Michigan. Here's what she had to say.
We're really encouraging people. Don't wait until November 3rd and go stand in line for a long time with a lot of other people. Go now and cast your vote. We have this right now in Michigan, and a lot of people don't know that because we've never had the ability to do this before. But you can go into your clerk's office now and cast your ballot safely, not in lines. And we have to remember we're still in the middle of a global pandemic. So put on your mask, take your ID, and get your vote in early.
I'm echoing what we just heard from the Secretary of State. When we come back, we'll talk about the week ahead for the American press. It was kind of jaw-dropping to many to see that the Detroit News decided not to endorse anyone. Maybe that's how you feel. We'll continue. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
It's here, the #1 Black Friday sale in Detroit, only at Gardner White. Sunday, save on huge Black Friday deals up to 75% off store-wide. Plus, save with an extra 20% off or get 0% financing for 60 months. All living rooms, dining rooms, and bedrooms, all Black Friday price. Get free same-day delivery on thousands of items in stock, plus free gifts. Only at Gardner White, Detroit's #1 Black Friday furniture store. Sunday, 11 to 8.
For the ultimate in luxury, sophistication, and customer service, look no further than the Cadillac Dealer of the Year, Jim Reel's Friendly Cadillac in Clinton Township. For a limited time, lease the 2020 Cadillac XT4 for as low as $357 a month.
All of us here at Jim Reel's Friendly Cadillac are proud to be your Cadillac Dealer of the Year, the highest honor of the Cadillac brand.
Jim Reel's Friendly Cadillac on M59, a quarter mile east of Partridge Creek Mall.
The good news is the flu shot is in plentiful supply this year. I wanted to be sure to get mine.
This year, more than ever, it's really important to get the flu vaccine. We definitely do not want to see a flu epidemic on top of a COVID pandemic.
It takes 2 weeks for the vaccine to be effective, so you'll want to get it before flu season starts in earnest.
CDC recommends everyone over the age of 6 months should get the flu vaccine.
Connect with your St. Joe's primary care physician and get your flu shot today.
Election Day 2020. We've never seen an election quite like this. The process, the motivation to vote, the anticipation for the results. Historic numbers are expected at the polls. So if you have a problem, contact Help Me Hang. He is committed to making sure your vote counts. For us at Local 4 and Click on Detroit, it is not about being first. It's about being right. And we'll be reporting results until every ballot is counted. Our team is dedicated to getting it right on Election Day and every day. Welcome back. Whether you vote in person at the polls on Election Day or you've already voted, you do it at your kitchen table perhaps, it's not unusual at all for people to use a list of endorsements from their local newspaper to help guide them through the ballot. It did not escape the attention of many this past week when the Detroit News said that they could not attach their name or endorsement to either Donald Trump or Joe Biden. That's just one of the issues that have made this such an extraordinary election season for the American press. press. Let's talk about this morning with the man who helped guide that decision to the Detroit News there on the upper left, Nolan Finley, editorial page editor of the Detroit News. The editorial page editor next to him of the Detroit Free Press is Brian Dickerson, and below them the former editorial page editor of the Free Press, now holding forth on public radio at WDET in Detroit today, Stephen Henderson. Gang, thanks very much for the time. Nolan, let me start with you.
Thank you.
You've probably seen the kind of bath that you're taking on social media for making a non-decision, which voters really can't do, can they?
Well, Devin, there's no way not to take a bath on social media these days. We made the decision. We're not going to hold our nose any longer and vote for the lesser of two evils. We are not going to put our name behind a candidate whose vision and for the country and whose values we don't share, simply because in some ways they may be slightly better than the other candidate. And this is not out of line what we've done in the past. This is the second time during my tenure we've made this decision. And 4 years ago, we made that decision in regards to the major parties. We endorsed Libertarian Gary Johnson. We interviewed the Libertarian candidate this time and found her wanting as well. And so rather than fake support for a candidate we just absolutely whose plans and policies we absolutely don't share, we just said, hey, send us better candidates next time. We'll take a look.
Well, this will be the first time I think that I've ever referenced Fonzie and Happy Days on Flashpoint, but I can remember an episode where it was impossible for Fonzie to ever say he was wrong. The word wouldn't come out of his mouth. And I think some people would say that it's just impossible for the Detroit News to endorse a Democrat. Because I don't believe the Detroit News has ever endorsed a Democrat in the history of the paper, going back almost a century, right?
We absolutely never have. And, you know, we passed on FDR, JFK, Adlai C. Stevenson, Harry Truman, LBJ, Barack Obama. Joe Biden wasn't going to be our first Democrat.
Brian Dickerson, what were your thoughts when you heard that was what was happening at the paper across the street?
Well, we already know what happens when people take the Detroit News's advice and choose none of the above. Because in 2016, about 80,000 Michigan voters did that. They went to the polls, they participated in the process, but when they got to the presidential ballot, they didn't vote at all, didn't cast a ballot. Donald Trump won that election by 10,000 votes. So we know what happens. There's no neutrality in this election. Abstaining from the process is a vote for the status quo. So, you know, I no disrespect to Nolan, but I think you've essentially endorsed President Trump without taking the heat for that.
Well, Brian, I'm not going to be lectured by somebody who endorsed 60 out of 62 Democrats. You could have just said, hey, vote straight ticket, and spared everybody the agony of reading Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. 80,000 people didn't vote last time. I don't blame those voters. I blame these two parties for giving them sorry candidates. And they've been giving us sorry candidates election after election after election, and they're going to continue to do so as long as we accept them. Detroit News is not going to accept them anymore. You want our endorsement, give us a candidate whose values we share. That's no de facto endorsement for Donald Trump, simply because people expected us to go that way. We didn't find him acceptable for the reasons we detailed in the editorial. We didn't find Joe Biden acceptable for the reasons we detailed in the editorial. We were not going to pretend to support a candidate we didn't support.
Stephen.
Yet one of those two is going to be president of the United States.
Unfortunately so, but as I've said about the last
Nolan,
election,
do you think it doesn't make a difference?
As I said about the last election, Brian, I wake up every day angry that Donald Trump is president and relieved that Hillary Clinton isn't. I am not going to pretend to back a candidate and say great things about a candidate when I don't believe them, when the paper doesn't believe them.
Stephen,
we're just not going to do it anymore.
Stephen, not everybody gets the good housekeeping seal of approval, and thinking of it that in those terms, as Nolan tried to suggest, that they're just not willing to lend their imprimatur on either of these candidates. Is there value to looking at it that way?
Well, I mean, I spent 20 years of my career on editorial pages here and in Baltimore and in Lexington, Kentucky, making these decisions. And let me first say, I'm glad it's the two of them doing this now and not me. It was one of the more thankless tasks of being a member of an editorial page and certainly of running one. I would correct Nolan a little bit here. I mean, yeah, the Free Press does endorse more Democrats than Republicans because it's a progressive paper. But the Free Press also twice endorsed John Engler for governor, twice endorsed Rick Snyder for governor here in the state of Michigan. And part of the reason for that is a pragmatic approach to it. That ideology is part of it, yeah. You're aligning your values with the choices in the race, but those values are not the only thing that you're looking at. You're looking at a very simple question in endorsements: which candidate is better than the other? And I think that's a fundamental different kind of approach. It's a finite choice. It's not a pure expression of the newspaper's values or beliefs. It is how those hold on. It is how those values and beliefs align with the choice on the ballot. And because, and again, I'm not saying one way is better than the other. I'm just saying it's really different. I think the papers have really different philosophies about these things, and because we also are so adamant about encouraging other people to vote, and when you vote, you have to make a choice. I think I always felt like it was not responsible of me to say neither one, because voters don't really have that choice if they're doing what we think they need to do in participatory democracy, which is participate.
Nolan, jump in there, and then I want to move on to this week. Go ahead.
Yeah, you look at our endorsements, I would say, and I haven't counted them up, but 40% of our endorsements this time went to Democrats because those Democrats we either felt had qualities we could support or they were good representatives of their district. So we have probably been less ideological in our endorsement over the years than almost any other paper that identifies.
Can you name a time when you've endorsed a Democrat for executive office, either at the state or national level?
We have endorsed Senate candidates, congressional candidates. We endorsed Secretary of State, Democrat, last time around. We've endorsed Democrats for a lot of key offices.
Okay,
and
guys.
But we're not going to endorse somebody who we are fundamentally opposed to and believe they'll take the country in a bad place.
Okay, let me move on to what's coming this week now. Brian, this is a really tricky time for newsrooms to try. Dewey defeats Truman seems so quaint compared to what we've got to try and figure out now with what could be a very prolonged, drawn-out process. Tell me a little bit about your preparations for how you think the week ahead needs to be covered.
Well, we're not at all concerned about being first, and we especially don't want to be first with inaccurate information. So we will not
Which
be
happened
looking
to you in 2016, right?
Exactly. And, in fairness to the people who made that call, using a system and metrics that had served us well for more than a generation. But I think we learned an important lesson there. And this year we'll be, looking at hard numbers. We will not be projecting races in which votes haven't been counted. We expect a lot of different processes to go on in a lot of different communities and states.
Yeah.
And we'll cover them each in their own way.
Nolan, I've only got about 15 seconds left. Do you trust the polling that we've seen thus far?
I always trust polling until it's proven wrong as it was last time. I would hope nobody would be so reckless this time as to use exit polling to project a winner when such a high percentage of the vote is absentee voting.
It really seems like a fool's errand. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for a really terrific conversation on the week ahead, on the week that was and the week ahead. Take a quick break. Back with more Flashpoint right after this.
It's here, the #1 Black Friday sale in Detroit, only at Gardner White. Sunday, save on huge Black Friday deals with up to $1,000 off the largest selection of top name brand mattresses in stock for free same-day delivery, or save with 0% financing up to 72 months. Plus $300 gift cards, free TVs. Serta Perfect Sleeper with free adjustable base, just $5.99. Tempur-Pedic, just $22 a month. Only at Gardner White, Detroit's #1 Black Friday mattress store. Sunday, 11 to 8.
You know, there's a saying, what you see is what you get. I'd like to think that's true. As the head of Michigan's largest injury law firm, I've always tried to be a champion for justice and the community. A doer, not just a talker. Now my law firm is celebrating 25 years. We've helped over 25,000 clients and collected over $1 billion for them. Thanks, Detroit. It's been a great 25 years, and we're just getting started.
A recent study revealed that a large percentage of Michigan homeowners are missing out on significant savings every month by not refinancing. Hi, I'm David Hall from Hall Financial, and at Hall Financial, we focus on putting you in the best financial position possible. So start saving today and call us at 248-308-5000, or you could chat with us online at davidhallmortgage.com. Lower payments, better options, more personal attention.
It's not just the trees that are changing. It's not just the leaves that are falling. The weather is changing too, and that's why the local forecasters have Storm Tracker 4, the latest technology making our forecasts faster and more precise than ever before. And nobody else in Detroit has it. Plus, our weather app puts those vital fall forecasts in the palm of your hand, wherever you are. For changing weather in changing times, count on the local forecasters.
I think we've set the table on what a week we expect this will be. Whatever happens, we certainly hope that we will be your trusted guide for all of it, either on the broadcast side at Local 4 or on clickondetroit.com. Meet the Press is next. Have a great week. See you next time on Flashpoint.